wonderful if you could ensure your business's success. We've got an expert here that will help you do that. Stay tuned. Welcome everyone to Your Little Castle Show. We get to talk to experts from around the world, many right here from our St. Louis area. Welcome to our studio, Stephanie Kut. Stephanie, welcome. How are you doing here? This is fun, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Carter.
Well, I appreciate you stopping in here to hang out with us because we literally are looking for those. The world has changed so rapidly, I'd say in the last, 10 months, 10 years at least. But when you talk about how technology has affected the way business is done, that's where I reached out to Stephanie. We ran into each other. We were chatting. I'll never forget. And I said, I need some help with this. You said, this is what you do. HR specialty, a lot of stuff involving business development, and then marketing obviously falls into that. And then we started talking. I said, hey, we can probably develop some kind of a conglomerate. Is that the right way to say it? Is that the way to do it? But my task and process. So camera number 4, you're not doing your job over there, camera guy. But literally, businesses have to stay on the ball every minute with technology and all of the other related issues. You specialize in HR also as a core competency that you work on. You've got a long history. Tell us a little bit about your background with regard to HR.
So I moved to St. Louis. It's been 20 years. So this is coming up my 20th anniversary of being in St. Louis. I moved from Kansas, so I was educated in the state of Kansas, moved here with a master's degree, and really have been afforded the opportunity to work with various businesses, small family-owned businesses to large corporations, specializing in human resources and HR management. And of course, with that comes leadership development and all the ins and outs of HR practice. So recently I've launched, after completing a special project with my last employer, I've decided that leveraging the 20 plus years plus my education to launch my own business has been a dream of mine, and so I've been able to do that recently, and I'm super excited to really work hand in hand with local businesses to help them reach their goals, to be successful, to ensure their success.
Well, there are so many businesses that literally they are so good at what they do, except they don't know how to run a business.
Right.
Have you run into this? You've seen this is why you kind of exist.
Absolutely.
And they're really good at creating widgets, or let's be more specific, building decks, building houses, building roofs, running marriage counseling companies, businesses. I've run into them all, and some of them do it really well. Nobody does everything perfectly, right? Would you agree that there's no one on the planet that does everything perfectly?
I do agree with that.
That's absolutely impossible.
Right. But most core business managers or owners have an operation, right? They have a specialization, what they choose to leverage to be profitable. But oftentimes they're missing, like we've already talked, technology. They're missing the basics. They're missing, even the people management. So they may have this really great grand idea, right, to be profitable, but at the end of the day, they're missing the skeleton, right? They're missing the foundation of their organization. And that's where we come in.
And the skeleton meaning like what holds the company up. Like when you stand
foundation.
up, there's all these bones we have inside us, everybody, right? It keeps us in shape to do the things we got to do to function. That's a good analogy. I like that. But most businesses, like I said, really good at the one thing they're good at, and then they have to figure out how to make money with it.
Right.
And ask for customers, and then pay people, and then hire people, and then get the product done with a multiple list of clients rather than just the 1 and 2 they were doing at the time. It's called scaling your business. But we really have kind of teamed up to help make that happen because I've been doing it for 27 years now. Going back to my parents had a learning center for kids, and then but 10 years I got to see how big corporations did it. Anheuser-Busch. I had my little niche, email systems. I built I started off answering phones. How do you send an email? How do you forward a message? How do you attach? I just set a calendar event. But I'm going to build the and then I got to see the whole infrastructure about how the big system works. And I realized with technology, wow, you can really make things much more efficient if you get on the cutting edge of technology. So that's where I come in with our side of the house, and Stephanie's helping me to help help our clients guide through that. And so SMD Consulting, you've been doing that for a long time now,
right?
And really do enjoy. What is it you enjoy most about helping small businesses to get on that path?
So I think I'm known to really have a great understanding of an organization by asking lots of good questions, right? So what are your goals? Where do you see your company moving? And so to really get to understand that business owner and give them some, I would say quick, easy hits advice where they have an understanding of what they need to do to go take their company to the next level, but then keep them asking for more, right? So kind of give them a little nibble or a bite, and then now we can really work together to better understand what the direction they want to go. So my passion is to always help, right? So I've been afforded a grand education. I've worked in St. Louis for 20 years. I've helped lots of business leaders, business owners, corporations, and I want to give that back. I want to continuously help improve not just small business owners or large business owners, whatever that case may be, but it helps strengthen our economy here in St. Louis. When we have really grand business owners or business owners that are small, medium to large sized, it helps our economy, and that's really
Yeah, they talk
what I
about
wanna
small
do.
business is the core of American society, not just culture, but look up the difference. But the small businesses do so much for the big businesses. When I worked for Anheuser-Busch, I saw a lot of the communications that was necessary through the email team. You learned about the billing and just the coordination efforts for outside companies that had to provide the sticker, the labels, the bottles, the tracks that ran my cousin designed the engineering things that took the bottles and cans and put them in packages and all that stuff. And a lot of that stuff comes from outside sources on a regular basis, continue to supply those things. And that's what we have across the world. Nowadays, it should really change the way it's done. Amazon has kind of helped us to understand. Okay, now everything can be done from your phone. Literally,
Right.
like, you want to go drive to the store, you can get it tonight. You want to wait till tomorrow, you don't have to get up. You can show up at your doorstep and not have to do anything. We have a lot of great business owners in our community here, so I got to give a shout out to a couple sponsors. We have Carol House Furniture, because you like nice things in your little castle. Where else would it be? We're all building our own little castles. And we thank Brooke and Amy and the great sponsorship they give us, because just to have them as part of our team makes it exciting, because they've been a staple in St. Louis. I think it's over 50 years now. But we also like to talk about other important sponsors. We've got another big one here. This has been awesome. If you're going to plan for your long-term perspective, we do. I literally took the test for I believe it was the 6 or the 7. I forget which that is now, to be a licensed investment expert. And I've done a lot of investing. I've had money from my coma and my accident a little bit there, and Dad said, just don't blow this money and you'll be a millionaire. Well, I spend it on things that help build the business, and it's turned into a few $1 million, but not necessarily through the investment side of it, but buying stuff that turned into work that I've done for years. But literally, gold has turned into one of the hottest commodities you can find on the planet. And if you study the history, which I had not, I recently had a buddy of mine approach me, he's a longtime friend, business partner in another endeavor we had, and he said, Carter, look at this up. My Metal Pro, the #1 distributor of gold in the world, he's the #1 distributor for the company, who is now the #1 retail distributor. And if you're interested in buying gold in $10,000 quantities, they can help you with that. But what I've noticed is most of the large companies that offer gold, they say right on their commercials, hey, call us if you've got $10,000 or more to spend, which is code for, if you don't have $10,000, don't call us. These guys have systematized the way you can buy gold in incremental fractions and not have to have that 20, 30% markup, 8 to 10, 20, 30% markup. So get a hold of our friends over there at My Metal Pro and go to gold. I'm going to put that back up. Gold Cowboy, goldcowboy.com. So people should invest in their future, and they do that. That's a passive way to make income, but they've got to put food on the table. And so that's why we're talking about what you can do to help small businesses. So with that, let's put up, Stephanie has her brand new website, looking good. That's on the wall behind us here. I'm going to bring that, there we go. We can show a little bit more off of what the website's got going there. Become a leader in business, claim your destiny. SMD Consulting, ensure your business success. I like, great logo. Did you get that together pretty quickly? I think she had some help.
Yeah.
I know somebody who does that kind of stuff. And literally, like I said, Stephanie, let's do this. I want to make sure you look like as professional as all the other people we work with. And some people come in here with everything. Some people come in here with nothing. Stephanie has a lot of the pieces in place, but I helped her with the website, the logo, and a couple of things. And we can do those things very quickly. But you also have a great little starter fan page. And I'm going to put that up here now for everybody to see on the wall. And you'll turn that into that is a marketing tool. A lot of people, some people work fan pages as if that's their only thing they have. They don't have a website. Not a good idea, by the way, everybody. There are many people that are then going to say, you're not serious about your business if you don't have a business page and a website.
Right.
So Stephanie's got both of those. All right, let's dig into it a little bit more here. How long have you been actually in the business consulting world? I mean, even when you were working for another company, obviously something you were doing.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about your history.
So I've always had an entrepreneur mindset. So going into really any opportunity, whether I worked in small business, large corporation, I've always had an ownership mentality, and really kind of launching this new consulting business is something I've done side work during COVID. I did some side projects for one major employer here in St. Louis, and I've always been that kind of project manager person. Someone gives me a project, whether it's in-house in a current role or hey, off the side of my desk, can you please help me with this kind of thing. But this is really an opportunity now, since I'm not working in a full-time HR capacity. There's less likely to be a disagreement with an overlap in responsibilities. So I'm able to launch this, and then in partnership with you as well. So I would say it's been years in the making, but really just launching it most recently over the last few months.
I mean, many years of experience you bring to the table, and I think that's what a lot of people are looking for, because how often do we have somebody? I deal with this a lot in my space. Like yesterday, I don't want to diminish any job out there, but I was cleaning cars. That's a great business.
Yeah.
But it's a little competitive, and it's outside work and a little sweaty sometimes. But today I'm a web developer because I learned about this thing called GoDaddy or whatever, and there's a lot of web development. But by now there's a whole system that goes into this, everybody, and that's what Stephanie's really helped me to help people integrate, because it's not just the website. How many web developers I know, I say, well, cool, what's the marketing automation system you have built into that? And they're going, what do you mean marketing automation system?
Right.
I have a website, it looks pretty. I'm like, cool. Now people land there, what happens after that? And that's where the money's at, everybody, by the way. One of the most important things you should have is a professional video right on front. It's literally going to save your business from losing the people that have heard about you because they can't speak to you personally. Why? Because you're busy.
Right.
They won't even call you to talk to you personally until they learn more about you. Get a professional video. Stephanie will have this video on her website moments after we're done, unless we mess it up. And then I'll have to do a little quick editing. We've systematized all the titles and the graphics and everything so that we can have a guest come in here and walk out and have a video ready to be aired on ABC moments later. All right, so what really led to this background that started you where you're at now as a business consultant? When it came down to, I'm going to be an HR business expert.
Right.
How'd you get into that?
So I don't mean to be negative, but I got burned out. I got burned out in working for a corporation.
It's okay to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I did. It's the day in and day out grind, doing the same thing over and over, right? It became very repetitive. My knowledge in human resources is very broad and expansive. And so because of that, I always knew within any role that I was, set for with the responsibilities, it kind of limited me and what I should really focus and concentrate on. And so this really gives me an opportunity to use my expansive knowledge and apply it to business, and to help businesses be successful. And that's really what I was set out to do.
Well, I take that drink to that. This is a nice cold iced tea, everybody. But literally, you've got to get on the game. There's so many business owners I know that have such good intentions, such a great product, such a great service, such great history, background, everything you need, except they don't know how to run a business.
Right.
They talk about lawyers and doctors. They come out of law school or medical school, and they don't know how to run a business.
Right.
They go into the big corporate environment, which some people enjoy. I've done that, been there, done that, 10 years. Didn't like sitting in my little cubicle all the time. I wanted to do other things. But as we have become so familiar, and I started off, like I said, 25 years ago, helping small businesses, and it's just really taken off from there. And while I was working at AB, I was consulting because my parents and a few other people that said, Carter's good with these computer things. You got to talk to them about it. Back then, we were talking about doing websites.
What?
We did websites. I did a website back in 1995 was the first one I did. So
that's when the internet first came out.
Yeah, that's when the interwebs. My master's thesis, everybody want to check it out. The internet is called Webster University. After I went to undergrad at SLU, and the internet history, like DARPA, like in the 60s. That's when it all really started, and then they integrated with the colleges and universities, and then became a giant network, and then they kind of made it a public thing, and they made it prettier, instead of just text and graphics. I used to do that, download, upload, FTP, all that stuff back as a kid.
Right.
Wow, I'm 53 now. So businesses, get on the ball here. Get a hold of Stephanie or I, and we will help you. Stephanie has some expertise to guide you in the right position from whatever standpoint, especially when you're hiring people. I guess HR, it's always about hiring people. What can you say? What can you do? How you want to be cautious so that you don't get sued over something stupid you said, even if it's something in jest. When I worked at AB, oh man, we were always worried about, did somebody say something that might have been misinterpreted or misread or confused, and there was always stuff that went on in corporations I won't even talk about. It's like, we're not doing this in the office, are we? I mean, this was just a goofy thing. It wasn't like I'm not trying to be weird, but I mean, it was a goofy thing. I'm like, no, that's stuff for, like, go do that at the park or whatever, but not in the office. And so it was weird, but you got to deal with that. And so corporations, I was also part of many lawsuits because we had to research the data and pull it out of their email.
Right.
I was the restore guy.
That was always me, the HR investigator.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that. What are some of the things that businesses should be a little bit concerned with so that they stay on the ball, and you can help just give them some quick tips
Sure.
to make sure they don't get in that kind of situation?
So in thinking about what we're touching on here, Carter, so most business owners are operations focused, right? They're running 1,000,000 miles an hour. They're focused in 100 different places. They're thinking about today. They're not thinking about maybe tomorrow. They probably are thinking about tomorrow, but maybe not future scope. And so when it comes to building that success, building that, what do they want to do next? Asking a few simple questions to yourself as a business owner in really kind of ranking, how am I doing with marketing? How am I doing with continuously, building my clients, whatever that looks like for you. What am I doing to engage latest and greatest technology, right?
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. You could becoming a bit of a cowboy.
Right.
And taking on some extra work. You say, all right, I'm going to go get it done. Cowboys are known for taking on all tasks. Whatever you needed done, the Cowboys would fix it, right?
Lasso. Right. Absolutely. So just asking those simple questions, what is my projected growth? I'm sure a lot of business owners are thinking about long-term profitability. What can they do to make sure that that's fine-tuned so that they can ensure their success, so that they can be sustainable and profitable? So just asking those few questions to yourself, as a business owner, what am I doing to prepare for my growth? What am I doing to ensure my success? And if I don't have answers to those questions, what can I do about it? And what's my next step? And so that's where we and our team comes into play. So most businesses are running 1,000,000 miles an hour, and they're left in the dark when it comes to the latest and greatest technologies. So artificial intelligence, big AI. Question mark with most business owners, right?
Right.
What is AI? How can it help me? What do you mean automated text messages, automatic email follow-ups, things of that sort? Most business owners today, especially the smaller ones that are maybe a landscaping business, a roofing company, whatever the case may be, a chiropractic office, they're not thinking that way of, they don't have that line of thinking because they're not understanding what AI could do for them. And so that's something that Carter and I are in partnership about.
Yeah, that's what you got to take advantage of. All right, we're going to talk about a little bit of shout out to a lot of people. I had some consultants come in. A buddy of mine worked for multiple stations. Paul Brown. He says there's got to be more to this with regard to people understand the story and the reason why you're doing this whole thing, and why you started the Cardinal Cowboy, and what's going on here, the message behind the whole madness. So with that, we're going to share with you a couple little clips and a promotional video that Paul wrote the script for too. We've really taken to another level, and we appreciate that. So check this out.
His name is Carter Rethwich, but in St. Louis, he's known as the Cardinal Cowboy. He's a well-known fixture in the stands at sporting events in the Gateway City. He's one of its greatest cheerleaders, a super fan like no other. When he makes his rounds at almost every home game, he shares his love for sports with the rest of fandom with a smile, a cheer, some positive encouragement, and lots and lots of selfies and pics. But the Cardinal Cowboy was born of a tragic incident. Rethwich was an aspiring athlete in high school and college. He dreamed of playing in the big leagues, but those dreams ended when he and 3 of his college friends were hit with a devastating crash by a 5-time drunk driver. One of his best friends died. Carter suffered a critical head injury. The trauma put him in a coma for 6 days. The doctors said he was never expected to function again. Those expectations never came true. He fought back and finished college. He was determined to prove the doctors wrong. Among other inspirations, it was his love of baseball that kept him going. And from his near-death experience, the Cardinal Cowboy emerged. His goal in life became to inspire others with positivity despite the odds, to help people believe in themselves and achieve their dreams.
So after my coma, I realized that it was up to me if I was going to accomplish my goals, if I was going to reach my dreams. Despite what the naysayers would say, the people that were discouraging me, like they do everyone, it's up to me if I'm going to make it. Don't listen to the naysayers. It's up to you. You decide whether you're going to succeed, whether you're going to reach your goals. Dream, and then always, always chase your dreams. Never give up. Giddy up. Hey everybody, Cardinal Cowboy here. I want to invite all of you to be part of my new team. No, you don't have to put on a baseball uniform and be a super fan. Now, it would be a good idea to cheer for the Cardinals, the greatest team in the history of the National League. But I'm talking about the Gold Cowboy team. You know, I love to help people follow their dreams and reach their goals in business and in life. So that's one of the reasons why I'm telling you about my friends at My Metal Pro. They help people like you and I acquire gold and silver with a membership that lets you safely buy, sell, and store gold and silver. They make it real easy to get started. My Metal Pro isn't like the big guys you see on network TV or the big coin shops that take a huge commission. So become part of my Gold Cowboy team. Scan the QR code or go to goldcowboy.com and check it out. Giddy up! All right, so there's a little bit of information for people to understand what's going on, how we like to help the community. But Stephanie's here to help us understand really the essence of what it takes to run a business, right? I mean, when it comes down to it, most of these business owners are really good at what they're good at, but they're not good at certain important things that'll make a big difference that could end up causing a lot of problems for the business. HR issues in particular, dealing with financial stuff, factors, and getting loans or just money management within the business. There's a whole lot that goes into that. As we get down here, we talked a little bit about how long you've been doing this, but what would you say is the one thing that really sets your business apart? If you were to say, this is what I do that nobody else I've seen really does.
I would say overall my passion. So not only my passion to help and to give back and to pay it forward, right? The education and the experience that I have to really help those business owners to be everything that they want to be, right? But I would say that I have a unique quality in having a connection to people, right? Really understanding, asking those pointed questions that really dive into the specifics and details of what they're really after. I have a way of, just kind of working well with most anyone, creating a partnership, creating a trusting relationship. Because I think when it comes to HR, it's very important that you trust that person that you are exposing your business to, right? Because HR is the nucleus of any organization. It's the core function in many instances, or it should be, a big part of it, a partnership. And when that's lacking or missing, when there's not that trust or that confidentiality or any of those things, if it's lacking, it falls apart. So there has to be a true partnership, and I think that's what sets me apart from most people.
I think you said it well, everybody. HR, do you know what it stands for? Human resources, right? You're literally talking about the humans that are involved with your business, that are resources for the success of your business. And if you don't manage that right, along with everything else tied into it, whether that's benefits, or obviously something that I remember I had to meet with HR the first time when I became converted from contractor to employee in Anheuser-Busch, and here's your benefits package, here's what your 401k, here's all these things that you need to work on. And by the way, if there's ever an issue, you talk to them. There's so much that goes through somebody like yourself, and small businesses kind of ignore that very often.
Right.
And it can come back and they'll be going, oh yeah, what happened? Well, we got sued by a past client, we got sued by a past employee, and all because they would have taken the precautions, signed paperwork, right? Is this kind of stuff they got to do? Tell me some of the steps businesses need to do to protect themselves.
Absolutely. So when even when it comes to how are you hiring, I always ask that question. What do you do to attract talent? First of all, you're posting a job description or some type of job posting. Do you have an application? A lot of small businesses, especially restaurants, they don't even have a paper application. So that could be seen as, discriminatory. How are you basing your hiring needs, your hiring decisions? What basis do you have for hiring that person? They should be the most qualified candidate, but when it comes down to it, how did you get to that decision? So that's a very simple thing, making sure you have an application as part of your hiring process. And it builds upon that. So as you mentioned, Carter, it's human resources. So if your humans fall apart, guess what? Your business could just fall apart just like that. Because how many business owners freak out? They lose, maybe they're top salesperson or they're top technology person, and then they're like, what do I do? I don't even know what they do, right? So helping business leaders to be prepared for those moments when, good grief, now what are you going to do when you lose that core person, right? Or
they call
any
that
of
the
humans.
key player, the key account. There's an insurance term for that. I forget what that is, but there's a key person insurance. Literally, like what happens if something happened to them? Those are things to consider, and there's insurance policies available so that if something happens, they say, oh, we'll write you a check for X amount of dollars, 100, whatever, so that you can get back on the ground, keep going, keep your ground underneath you, I guess what I would say. Important information. All right, let's do a quick, and I like this question here. We didn't go over these questions in depth, but I got you a preview there. But I like to just keep it real too. Also, we don't like people like spend an hour and a half analyzing all this. I write down the questions, but what's the biggest mistake you see small businesses make? There's a lot that can be done that can cause a lot of problems for a business. What do you think is the biggest mistake they make?
I think being emotionally reactive, right? So making decisions based off of their emotion, without thinking through or even bouncing the idea off someone else. So when a business leader is fired up, heated, whatever the case may be, they say a lot of things that they would really like to insert their foot into their mouth and take it back. So I would say in most instances, business leaders that lead with that emotional focus as opposed to being more operational or just non-emotional when it comes to their business decisions, it's when a lot of mistakes get made. And this is not just small businesses, right? This is any leader throughout any organization I've ever met. There's a book called Emotional Intelligence, right? It's I don't know what version it's on right now, 4.0. It's a really good resource. Most of us don't realize how much our emotions impact our decision-making abilities. They do.
Well, I was going to say, it's involved with every decision. At some level, it's just a matter of, was it pure emotion? Was it 50-50 emotion versus facts? And then some people will analyze the facts in their favor based on the emotion that they have.
Yeah,
It was all a factual decision. I wrote down everything that we had to talk about, and then you selectively picked a few things that you wanted based on how you felt, which is an emotion. And so, that's a key. I didn't know what you would say with that. I thought you'd say, well, people hire the wrong people, or people don't train their people correctly. But you're saying it's just those emotional things. Those are what you're saying. This makes sense. Those are the things that cause a company to crash because they just said, and then
Right.
or this is got to be done right now. I had an emotional response. I think I'm not sure what happened with a recent client, and we had to settle everything down. They're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, pay attention here because this is stuff that you cannot overreact to. I was flying a plane earlier today, believe it or not, everybody. Gateway flight instructors, my buddy Bob Mater, and I said to him, I just want to keep calm and cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Good idea. Act like you're flying a plane all the time, right? Because you don't want to make any rash decision. I said to him, I used to be the kicker. We're talking during the flight, by the way. I said, I used to be the kicker, and I just had chaos going on around me. There's guys tackling and falling all over the place, and bells and whistles and music being blasted, and then they come up and you're supposed to kick a 38-yard field goal, 53-yard field goal.
That acute focus.
And here's this focus, zoom in, snap. And my concern was one thing: did that holder put the ball down? You cannot be distracted with all the other things.
Right.
And I couldn't be jumping around, reacting to everything, emotion.
It plays a big part.
Stay tuned for more, everybody. I would love to talk about it for hours. Giddy up.